Today's episode is brought to you by Manoogian Law. Facing a Tarek Skubal fastball is scary. You know what else is scary? Walking into a courtroom without someone who has your best interests at heart. And that is where Max Manoogian comes in. Confidence in the courtroom is his slogan. And it's easy to see why. With over 11 years of criminal defense experience, Manoogian Law is your go-to in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties, as well as all of Southeast Michigan. The man knows his way around a courtroom. Easy to contact and a straight shooter, Max Manoogian is in the business of helping his clients, not nickel and diming those in need. Step into the batter's box with confidence with Manoogian Law. Friend of the podcast, a diehard Tigers fan, and proud sponsor of Turning the Corner. Contact Manoogian Law at 248-973-7527. And welcome into another episode of Turn the Corner, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley, your opener for today. This will be a little bit shorter. It actually doesn't really have anything to do with the fact the Tigers lost. Is that everything I gotta say is pretty simple. You know, I'll be honest with you. My opening statement for this podcast was written before the game. And really, it comes down to this. Above all else, in sport, you cannot fake desperation. The Tigers were not playing for their season. The Guardians were. How Cleveland brought the energy and how the Tigers matched it was going to go a long way to determining the outcome. And that obviously held up in this game. You were going to have to ride variance if you were the Tigers. Yes, Rogers lined out, and that killed the second inning with Torque being doubled up there at second. And no, that was not a base running blunder, as they said on the broadcast. Even if Torque retreats immediately, which obviously would not be the right thing to do, he doesn't get back on that scorcher. It's a double play regardless. That's a variance. That's baseball. These are the margins here, how different was that than David Fry's line out to Vierling in game 3? Hard hit ball right to a guy makes a play. Obviously Vierling's play was harder, but you see what I'm saying. Those are kind of things that are baked into the cake. The bottom line is, this is not a game to come in here and crush anybody, crush AJ for this decision, crush this guy for this at bat, this guy for this pitch. This was a game of things that you needed. You knew that you were going to get Cleveland's best effort, and you knew you were going to have to counter that. You needed to avoid a first inning jam for Olsen that neutralizes, especially again top of the first inning, neutralizes some of the energy that comes from the crowd. You needed to get Parker Meadows home from second after a leadoff double in the first, which by the way, Parker, shout out, hitting safely in all 6 games. That's remarkable. It kind of gets lost in this. But Parker being able to do that, given what we witnessed, for a good portion of this season, kudos to that guy. He continues to elevate what we think is possible for him. You needed to score more than 1 run with the bases loaded, no outs in the second. I mentioned that right there. You'd rather get a base hit than a sac fly from Sweeney there, but runs across, line drive right to the shortstop, double up. That's good break Cleveland, bad break Detroit. Again, all part of it. You needed to hope, pray even, that Jose Ramirez stay cold. You needed Bo Brisky to throw that fastball inside as opposed to down and middle to Fry there for the go-ahead home run. And you needed Gunther not to wait until it was 2-0 to throw a strike to Steven Kwan, who, this guy gets a hit, I'm just always tipping my hat to him. I'm not even mad at the pitcher, but it's just you couldn't get the calls there. You weren't sharp enough if you're Gunther, and that's what happens. Fry, you guys understand. And you really needed a little bit sharper from Job there in the second inning that he came in, and those kind of things ended up being the difference. More importantly, you needed Carpenter to not have a lower body injury. The extent of which, as I record this, we don't know. Hard to imagine that's a one-day injury, but we'll see. carp and bats, as you guys know, my opinion, are precious. You need as many as you can there, and that was two missed late in the game. Young comes in, he gets a walk, and then he gets an RBI. Good on him. You can't really say he failed, but you also can't really say he rose to the occasion either. Don't want to diminish, the guy coming in cold like that, and he didn't look like he was afraid of the moment, so if you're looking for some silver lining, there you go. You need all those things, and it ends up a one-run loss. And, I'm not even really trying to sound glass half full here. Because really how I feel is I'm glass half. Like, this game had all the ingredients for a win. There were moments. Colt Keith's 8th inning diving grab comes to mind. Perez with 2 hits off the bench. Jahan continues the rake. By the way, he's 3rd on the team in postseason hits. Just at an all-time clip. That might come into handy on Saturday. We shall see. Every punch Cleveland threw, Detroit had some sort of answer. But just because you throw a punch doesn't mean it lands or lands all that efficiently. So what happens now is everybody gets to second guess the pitching chaos approach. You need starters to go deep in the games, and that's an opinion that the conventional baseball thinker, you're gonna be right more often than not. So I'm not even gonna try to counter to what people look at Detroit. Did fatigue and familiarity come into play tonight? Maybe it did, but wouldn't it probably come into play regardless of this pitching chaos approach? I would probably wager with 2 teams in division and deep into the 4th game of a series, and we'll see it again on Saturday, 5 games. There's some familiarity both ways. It's not like Cleveland's bullpen, their vaunted bullpen, scary bullpen for a lot of guys. It's not like they came in and just mowed the Tigers over. It was competitive all the way through. Cleveland won 92 games for a reason. Beating them 3 consecutive times always felt like an optimistic proposition. It's fine for us as fans to wear this loss and think about missed chances. It's all good. But it's still Skubal on the mound in a do-or-die game. And in that game on Saturday afternoon in Cleveland, it's going to be a raucous environment, all these things. The desperation level will be even. So, sit back, crack open an ice-cold soda pop, and let's see what happens. October baseball. This is what it is all about. Okay, I've had my say. Let's bring in the wordsmith. With me, as always, is a man whose job involves mileage in a metaphorical and literal sense. He is Cody Stavenhagen. Cody, what takeaways do you have for us?
Yeah, Kieran, I think you hit the nail on the head again. I don't know that I have a whole lot to add other than, that was a great October baseball game between 2 pretty good competitive teams that know each other well. At the same time, it is hard to shake the feeling that the Tigers let this one slip through their hands a little bit. You enter the 7th inning with a lead. You have 2 outs, 2 strikes in the 7th, and 1 pitch from Bo Brisky. David Fry hits it out of the park. I think up until that pitch, they kind of had the sense like the Tigers are going to win this game. And then after that, that feeling never quite returned, even as they tried to mount a rally. Bo Brisky after the game, I thought he summed it up well. He was super professional. He went through the at-bat. That 2-2 pitch was supposed to be up and away. He just yanked it down in middle, called it Fry's honey hole, and sure enough, Fry crushed it. He had the right idea. He threw the pitch with the right conviction. He just missed, and it's a reminder that sometimes these things happen in sports, no matter how much you plan or prepare. Despite how good of a game it was, you can certainly go back and relitigate certain decisions. Should you pitch to Jose Ramirez? I would pitch to him every time in that spot, rather than just walking the go-ahead run on base. The goal is basically just to keep him in the park, and it's Jose Ramirez, and that didn't happen. Is Jackson Jobe the right guy for the late innings? It's hard to say. Jobe's probably not pitching. Granted, if Brisky doesn't give up that homer, and the Tigers would have still held the lead at that point in time. The torque play, I don't think there's much the guy could have done. A couple decisions that people are going to debate, but really AJ Hinch had Steven Vogt in a blender for most of that game, continued to get advantageous matchups. Vogt kind of took a very opposite approach of what he did Wednesday night, and he didn't use his pinch hitters until very late in the game. Even Fry Brisky, that's a right on right matchup. I just don't think it's all exactly it's one of those reminders like you can manage and you can put your team in a great situation, and just not everything always goes according to plan, even though so many times this year, especially in this last month or so, it seems like it has for the Tigers. The bigger concern is Kerry Carpenter. I saw him in the clubhouse walking with what I would call a slight limp. He had a sleeve on his left leg. He was around. He got dressed kind of slowly at his locker. The PR staff said he was not going to be available to reporters. Tough to know his status there, but yeah, the hamstring doesn't seem like a good sign. Does make you wonder though, like, would you keep him on the roster for a game 5 if he's still able to swing? You don't necessarily need him to run. Would you keep him just for a potential pinch hit appearance? I mean, someone sent me a Kirk Gibson GIF, and I had to laugh at that a little bit. Tough to know, what the extent of that injury is right now and how it might affect his swing. Also, something to watch for Jake Rogers, I'm told, was briefly in the x ray room after the game, and he walked through the clubhouse with a wrap on one of his hands. Don't have any further information there. Not real sure if that's something to actually be concerned about or not, but Rogers was pinch hit for before his last at bat, so that's definitely another worry. The good news is it's game 5. You have Tarek Skubal on the mound. This is a Tigers team that has played with its backs against the wall for the vast majority of this year, the entire second half of this year. So as nice as it would have been to win game 4, to do it on your home field, to save Skubal for the ALCS, maybe this is more fitting in a way. The Tigers have to do it the hard way. It's coming down to a decisive game with the guy who largely has helped will them here on the mound in Skubal. Should be another fun one, I'm sure. You got to like your chances with Skubal on the mound. It's just a matter of can you scratch across a few runs. Like I said last night, you've had these lower scoring games. This Tigers team has been prone to some of these games where the floodgates come open, every so often. Maybe that doesn't happen as much in the postseason, given you're kind of always seeing the other team's best guys out of the bullpen. But you do wonder, if there was ever a time to have one of those 10 or 12 run games, it would be Saturday in Cleveland, what's now going to be a primetime game. That's really all I've got for now. I'm sure we will have much more to discuss, win or lose, after game 5.
All right, Cody will once again be Johnny on the spot in the land this weekend. I want to thank everybody for listening and following along. Cody is at Cody Stavenhagen. I am at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page at Turn Corner Pod. Links on our socials to the merch store and our Venmo tip jar. We appreciate all of you. Let's see what happens on Saturday. Like I said, do or die. This is what you live for if you're a baseball fan. Be on the edge of your seat the entire time. These two teams have lived up to the billing, and I imagine Game 5 will be another classic. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I am Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you after Game 5.